When I send you the recording for this, I am going to link the the masterclass we did 2 months ago if you want to check that out so you can see what we went over. But I'm going to briefly go over what we went over with the 5 biggest mistakes people are making on these medications. So if you can, let's go back here. Hold, please. We're going to go back. There we go. Okay. Can everyone see this? Can someone say yes? I don't know where you guys.
Yes, I can see
Perfect.
it.
Yeah, we
Thank
see
you.
it.
You guys all disappeared on me. I don't know. I'm on Zoom calls all day, and you would think I don't know what I'm doing because it's maybe partly true. Okay. So we went over the 5 biggest mistakes. First off, what is a GLP? What we went over, which is a glucagon-like peptide 1. It's a hormone in your gut naturally that you produce after eating. Basically signals your brain that you're full, it slows gastric emptying, and it regulates blood sugar. Okay, GLP-1 medications are synthetic versions engineered to last far longer in the body than what you naturally produce, obviously. Originally, obviously, developed for type 2 diabetes. Weight loss was the side effect that kind of became the headline, and I believe in 2021 got FDA approved to use for weight loss. So it works on two fronts, really, and I would argue retatrutide or retatrutide, however you want to pronounce it, the new one coming out, works on really 3 fronts, but works on 2 fronts, which is fullness and then the brain, the cravings and reward center. Okay, people describe feeling mentally different about food, not just less hungry. For you guys who are on one, you can probably attest to that. So the 3 we are talking about here, really there's 3 types currently. That is semaglutide, which is Ozempic, Wegovy, kind of was the foundation. It was the most widely prescribed. It is not anymore. Weekly injection or daily pill, single receptor target, GLP-1 only. Then tirzepatide came out, or Mounjaro, or Zepbound brand name. It adds a second layer with the GIP activation, which delivers greater appetite suppression. So generally outperforms semaglutide on weight loss. Then retatrutide, which is still in 3rd phase trials, just wrapping up through Eli Lilly. Obviously, there's different ways to obtain Reta, which I'm not going to go over here on this, but there is. That is GLP, GIP, and glucagon. So this is kind of the penthouse, and it's a triple agonist. Glucagon adds fat burning and energy expenditure. Definitely the most dramatic results and most to manage. And I would say that probably out of the 3 appears to be early on milligram, stronger with yet less side effects. Obviously, that's per individual, and we'll get the full report when they all kind of come out here at the end here. The 5 biggest mistakes, real quick, I wanted to go over was number 1 was not strength training. If you are on a GLP and you are not strength training, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. You absolutely need to be strength training. Losing weight is cool. Losing muscle is not cool. I cannot stress this enough. If you are on one of these medications and not protecting your lean muscle tissue, you could be putting yourself in a worse spot at the end of this. You definitely need to strength train. How much we went over? 3 times, 30 minutes, like minimum. If you can't do that, at least 2 times a week for 30 minutes. But ideally looking at about, at least 90 minutes, if not a lot more of strength training across the course of a week. That's kind of on the minimum side. So number 2 we went over is not eating enough protein. Again, it goes back to that lean mass thing. And if I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I really want to get into the nitty gritty, again, we will include the part 1 to the masterclass we did, so you can review that. We went over ways to get more protein in, why people tend to not eat enough protein when on these medications. Number 3, and a really important one, is the dose is often too high. These medical practitioners, we are not doctors, we don't claim to be, but man, they will just pump the dose higher and higher and higher. And more is not always better. You want to find the effective minimal dose because there's no free lunch money with these things. And what we really, really try to do at Next Level Coaching is help clients be their own advocate. So when they go into practitioner or provider, they can advocate for themselves to not just rush up and dose because their weight might have plateaued briefly for a couple weeks most. There is a sweet spot, and when people go too high, and for you guys who have been on these medications, you can probably attest to that, and everyone's different. This is not like set in stone here, but more tends to also mean more side effects. And sometimes the trade-off, and often I would say actually, from what we have seen working with clients, hundreds and hundreds, is the little bit more weight loss for the exponentially higher side effects is not worth it. You're doing this to feel good. Don't put yourself at such a high dose that you feel like complete dog shit. It's just not worth it. And you know what happens when your dose is too high? You feel like crap, your energy's low, you can't eat enough protein because your appetite is obliterated, and then you're not strength training because you're exhausted, right? Nobody likes to feel nauseous. You shouldn't have to feel nauseous all the time in these medications. If you do, I would argue your dose is too high, okay? Or you're not doing these other things like drinking enough water. Super important, okay? Number 5 was not hiring a coach. And that is, we are pretty passionate about seeing clients who have been on GLP medications come to us, and the first thought was they need to up their medication because they had lost weight and then plateaued. So they're like, maybe I need to hire a coach. Turns out once we optimized everything else, they didn't need a higher dose. They needed a better strategy, right? And so, yes, I understand that's like a double investment in the medication and the coaching. But if you want to get the best bang for your buck, walking side by side with somebody who gets this and understands it, can hold you accountable, give you accountability, application, education along the way, and not just education about GLPs, education about how to make this lifestyle really work for you. So those are the 5 biggest mistakes we went over. And that is, okay, there we go. Now I can see all you. That was so weird. I missed you guys. I couldn't see you. So those are the 5 biggest mistakes we went over, okay? And I think really, really important ones. So I'm going to kind of pivot into this next part. And I know a couple of coaches on here, Chelsea, Nick, at any point in time, I know you guys have had a lot of experience, both anecdotally and as well as working with clients. If you have anything, feel free to chime in. But I'm going to keep coming back to this one, okay? You would not try to optimize your taxes, I always tell people, without an accountant. I've tried it. It didn't work. You know, it's not very good, right? You would not go to court without a lawyer. I've also tried that. That did not work out well for me. Apparently, you should get representation. I actually haven't had to go to court in a long time, so I'm proud of myself. But somehow people think they're going to like navigate a medication that rewires your whole entire brain chemistry, can change your hormones, affect your relationship with food, and not in a negative way, often in a very good way, but and has the potential for a massive rebound effect when going off it. They think they can go through this alone with just maybe Google or, you know, a pamphlet. Like, that's insane. And that's why I'm going to keep coming back to how important coaching is. Yes, I'm passionate about this. Yes, we have something to offer you throughout this whole. This is just the truth. We do. And so what Tom's going to do real quick, if Tom, you could in the chat, I'm going to keep going with these, but if you don't mind, actually, Tom, if you'll just recall link, the reason I'm going to pin that right there and have Tom put that, and I'm going to keep reminding him to put that there, is as we go through this, we're going to keep coming back to this, and we are opening up a few select spots for coaching with this. If anything we said resonates with you along the way, great. If it doesn't, totally cool too. My goal is to leave you better than we found you. That is it. At the end of this, that is it. But if also you're on one and you're not one, or you're terrified to get off it one day because you don't feel confident that you have built a lifestyle and done the work with the relationship with food up here to do that, then this is something you probably want to consider, okay? So I'll keep kind of coming back to that. But I wanted to go over 2 other mistakes that we did not have time to go over in the last masterclass. And that is, if I could have listed 8 or 9 mistakes, but we went right up to the hour last time. And I find that anything longer than an hour, I was on a masterclass one time that was 2.5 hours, and I wanted to, that was not a good scenario. It was too long. So I want to be respectful of you guys' time and keep you engaged here, okay? Mistake number 6, if I could go back and I had enough time to do 2 more mistakes on those, is ignoring dietary fiber. This is super, super important that you don't ignore fiber. 97% of Americans fall below the recommended 25 to 38 grams of fiber daily. That's a pretty remarkable statistic. And on a GLP, eating less, it gets even worse. So You remember, there's two types of fiber. In fact, I think I have a slide on this. Maybe I can give you a visual here. Let me pull that back up so I can show you, if I can find it here, that fiber is incredibly important in not only like bowel motility, but among many other things. I don't know. Where is it? There. No, that's not it either. Oh, please. I have no shame in my game over here. There it is. Okay. I actually don't love that slide on fiber. So I'm going to come back to it. Two types of fiber, right? Soluble fiber, insoluble fiber. Remember, like soluble fiber dissolves in water. It forms like a gel. It feeds gut bacteria. I totally just lost my notes, so I'm just kind of free flowing this with you here. But it produces, it blunts blood sugar spikes. So sources of like that off the top of my head would be oats, lentils, chia seeds, flax seeds, apples. If I'm missing any, you guys can add Nick or Chelsea. But then insoluble fiber, that adds bulk to your stool, right? And so it speeds like transit. It keeps digestion moving. Critical since, remember, GLP slow gastric emptying. So sources for that would be like whole wheat bread, brown rice, more like seeds, green beans, stuff like that. But diversity matters in hitting your fiber goal more than even just a number I'd aim. Here's what I see the trap people fall into. They just have like one of the carb balanced tortillas, which I'm not here to shit on carb balanced tortillas. If you digest it just fine, that's great. But if that is your sole source of fiber because it has 25 grams, you are not getting diversity to your gut microbiome. And honestly, I've seen that actually backfire on people where they don't digest those carb balanced tortillas well, right? That inulin fiber and chicory root and these kind of things, these processed types of fiber. So I'm not saying not to have them, but one source, you want a diversity of different types of fibers. And so you're thinking, if you wanted the tortilla, cool, but also include some lentils or berries or some green vegetables into your diet or some chia seeds, super, super important to make sure that you are, oh, thank you, Chelsea, for answering the questions in here. So getting enough dietary fiber in when you're on these medications. So as far as the any questions on the fiber real quick? Guys, I have no idea where my slide deck went, and we're just gonna roll with this shit, okay? We're just rolling with it. I don't know where it's at.
You want me to send it back to you?
I mean, maybe. That's not a bad idea, Nick.
It's in our text string.
Oh, yeah. That's fine. Here, we'll just click on it here.
Here it comes.
Listen, and clearly I'm not too worried about it because I actually think it's kind of, it's, I think they can get a little bit, I need it in the Google form. It's okay. Mistake 7. And in fact, Nick, if you want to add any to this, and I can find wherever the hell it went here. I want to empower you to stop. So many people. Listen. I'm gonna make sure she's not on here. Okay, she's not. I don't think she'd come. I have an aunt. She's a sweet lady. She's great. Listen, we're at a family party. She's lost a ton of weight, and I said, "Hey, you look great, right?" And I knew she had been on a GLP because my father told me, right? But I was kind of waiting to see if she told me. And some people, first off, I want to empower you that if you are taking one, you do not need to be ashamed about that. I know a lot of people that take these things and still don't lose weight. So yes, do they assist it? Sure. But I've always said I want to help you demystify any shame around this, that if you're using one as a strategic tool, especially if you're doing the lifestyle and it is allowing you to make lifestyle modifications easier and more effectively and more efficient, you do not need to have any shame about being on this. And I would encourage you that you don't need to have any shame about it. You can tell people, I know a lot of people that have gone on these and still not had success. So they're not just simple, and even that some clients that haven't responded great to them. But she had no shame in telling me. And she went on to brag to me about how she has lost, I think it was like 76 pounds at that time. And she said, you know what's crazy is? You know what my lunch was today? And she laughed. She said, a cookie. I just ate a cookie. That's it. I just wanted a cookie. That's her whole lunch. And she's basically eating the exact garbage diet, just significantly less of it. And she's not only not ashamed of it, but she's bragging about it. And I tried to encourage her. The coach side came out of me, and I was like, don't, but I did it anyways. And I tried to educate her on just how important it is to make sure not only we're having a lifestyle change, but that you're feeding your body adequately with good food. Like, this is so important. You can lose a bunch of weight, but also you can end up you could end up more unhealthy in a lot of areas if you don't actually clean up a damn thing with your diet. Yes, the deficit is working, which has gone. And what this has also proven, the point is that calories still matter a lot. So she got off the medication. She gained back a lot of the weight. My father called me and said, "Are you concerned?" She's gained back like 40 pounds for 4 months, maybe it was 4 months. And I said, no. And I'm also not surprised, because if we don't change our lifestyle while on these, you're just going to revert right back to the same shit. So appetite suppression does not make Doritos all of a sudden nutritious. It just makes you want to eat less of the Doritos, but it does not change the fact that they are not a nutritious food, okay? So eating less volume will equal usually big time micronutrient deficiencies. And those can compound fast. And we're talking deficiencies in zinc, magnesium, B12, other vitamins, fiber, which we mentioned. And you're going to feel like crap, and your digestion is going to be a complete wreck. So, you have a smaller caloric budget probably than ever when all these, you're going to be eating less than you normally do. But every bite needs to earn its place, is what I tell clients. Like, we need to make sure we're fueling yourself. If you're not that hungry, we need to make sure we're at least getting nutrient-dense foods in. And for some of you guys, that might be doing some blended smoothies with some fruit and chia seeds and some protein powder, something to get some nutrients into your diet if you're not very hungry. So the window of reduced appetite is your chance to build real habits, okay? If you miss it, you're just back to square one, because eventually you're probably going to come off this. Now, for some people, we could argue that maybe being on a low dose forever is a viable option. The problem with that stance is we don't have long-term data to see what happens when someone stays on this for 20 or 30 years, because it hasn't been 20 or 30 years, and we won't know for a long time. And I would argue, unless you're somebody who has been battling 400, 500, 300, 400 pounds your whole life, like, I don't think just staying on forever should be your game plan. I'm not saying that a super low maintenance dose for a long period of time might not be a bad option, but eventually we have to kind of face the music, and hopefully we've rewired some of those tendencies and your lifestyle. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Nick or Chelsea. If not, it's totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really ties into a lot of things we talked about last time of when you are eating so low, you go to the doctor and they keep raising your dose of like, oh yeah, Mrs. Jones, how you feel? I feel all right. And now let's up your dose. And so now you go from eating 1,500 calories to maybe only being able to eat 1,000. But if you're not willing to do the work and really focus more on the nutrient dense foods, and yeah, if I'm barely eating protein to begin with, and since protein is the most satiating macronutrient, it's going to be that much more challenging. So all of a sudden, the nutrients you are getting, it's the metaphoric scale of like, awesome, I'm losing weight. That's great for your health. But in the long term, you're now shifting the scale of like, I'm going to have a lot more health issues when it comes to thyroid, digestive health, GI issues, not to mention the rebound effect that if I'm not doing the work and cleaning some things up little by little, it's not a total overhaul overnight, but it is adding a little bit diversity, adding a little bit more color, having protein and produce with each meal. And all of a sudden, you really are eating more than you have, and it's just more nutrient dense foods, and it's just more bang for your buck. And like you said, earning your bites that is more nutrients, that's going to go such a long way, such a long way. And it's, kind of what we do here is like the identity piece of really making this who you are and what you do.
100%. That gave me time to find the slideshow, but honestly, I think I'll only show one more of these on here. Because here's what I see consistently, and I'm going to try to actually get through this, because the biggest reason we did this part 2 was to talk about the part that I don't feel like enough people are talking about, which is up here, right? I don't know how many of you guys can relate that are currently on it, like how free it probably feels, especially for you, those who have really struggled with food noise, which we're going to get into what does that term even mean. Um, how free it feels to not obsess over food, right? Like for some of you, you've never known how to not obsess over food. What a beautiful feeling, right? But how do we assure that we're doing the work so that when you do taper off these medications, which I believe I've seen clients do it both ways, and the ones that taper have a much better success, but I am not a doctor. I'm just simply an observer of seeing and working on the front lines with these people. And we're not claiming to be doctors, but we are on the front lines talking with our clients, sometimes daily, that are on these medications. And so you have to remember, your doctor's job is not to talk to you daily over text and to check in on how you're feeling. It's their job to write the script and see you back in 4, 8, or 12 weeks, whatever cadence they see fit. That's our job. And we take that really serious, that we are on the front lines. And what's been really cool is the doctors who have been willing to hear our feedback and collaborate with us, and not all of them will. And that's been really cool because we're seeing this on the front lines. And so our job is to make sure that you're hopefully getting the most out of this, and again, changing that relationship with food while on this, because it can kind of be a catch-22, right? So here's what I see consistently is someone loses 30 pounds on this medication, right? They feel incredible. And then they're like, hey, I think I'm good, right? I'm going to get off it. And this is somebody who has probably struggled with food noise, meaning that obsessive mind over food. They get off the medication. They say, oh, I think I'm good. I don't want to keep taking it. Maybe it's a price thing. Maybe they don't like not pooping. Maybe, they felt a little bit of the side effects on it. Whatever the reason. Maybe they just don't want to be tied to a medication for the rest of their life. So they say, I'm going to get off it. Then 6 months later, they're right back to where they started. They're confused often, frustrated, feeling like a failure. I don't know if anybody can relate to that feeling like a failure. Because I'll tell you, I can relate when it comes to drugs and alcohol. I spent from 2003 to 2013 in a pretty gnarly addiction, for those who don't know, to drugs and alcohol. And I was a pretty bad or good addict. I don't know whichever way you want to look at it. It was pretty terrible. And, the shittiest part about all that was I started trying to get sober. My parents saw fit for me to try to get sober like a year into my addiction. So I spent like 9 of those 10 years kind of thinking about getting sober and trying and many attempts, and I would get 4 or 5 months only to fail again. And it was just like the guilt and shame would kick in, and that feeling of just like demoralization would kick in again. So why I might not be able to relate to it when it comes to food, I can certainly relate, or weight, I can certainly relate to it when it comes to drugs and alcohol. And it's a really similar feeling. And so I feel for you if you've gone through that, but I see this happen, right? So, and it was never a failure of willpower. I believe that. I believe it was a failure of proper information and support. And nobody told them, these people that gain the weight back, the doctor wasn't like, okay, let's look at your diet. Here's what I would change. And then weekly meeting with them and tweaking the food, making sure you're getting the right foods in, the nutritious foods, right? Talking about their mindset as they go along. Nobody told them that. Nobody held them accountable to the quality of the calories they were eating, the mindset work. Nobody was watching on a close basis. And that's what coaching is. And I believe that's what changes outcomes. Okay. So, if any of that feels like it resonates to you, like, keep listening, because you don't have to do this alone. I want to impress upon you that you absolutely don't have to. And if your plan is to get off it anytime soon, you absolutely don't have to do that alone. And again, your doctor's job is to not walk side by side with you and text you every night and see how you're feeling. That is our job. So the other mistake I was going to go over, but I'm looking at the time and I really want to have enough time and I want to get some interaction from you guys if possible, is alcohol. Please just stop drinking alcohol as much when you're on GLPs. How many of you guys that do drink alcohol occasionally have noticed that either A, you want it less, or B, when you do drink, you notice the effects less on your, you notice the effects greater, meaning it kind of makes you sick. Like 2 drinks kind of does what 4 used to, or your hangovers are worse, or I don't know if anybody has felt that or just simply their cravings less, because what's really interesting about GLPs is they tend to, they're studying them even for some addiction recovery stuff, and that all kind of pleasure centers there tend to go down a little bit. So, and not somebody said, nope, I haven't noticed that at all. And not everyone has. I've had some clients that they can still have a couple drinks, feels just totally fine. I've had others that say, man, ever since I got into tirzepatide, I have 2 glasses of wine and I am like, oof, feel sick. Some of that is because of the gastric emptying. So the alcohol tends to hit harder and faster than expected, right? And tolerance can drop significantly, and most people don't see that coming. Again, and this isn't like, there's no hard, fast rules here, but um, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the alcohol. Just be aware, because of the slow gastric emptying, that alcohol can hit harder and faster than expected. It can also stay in your system a little bit longer. And so like the 2, 3, 4 drinks can kind of compound on each other. No problem, Leslie. Thank you for joining. Absolutely. 2 drinks and I have a headache the next morning. I haven't had a drink in 3 weeks now. Who wants to feel sick? Exactly. Good job, Lexi. Your health will thank you for it. Obviously, I'm biased about like the no alcohol. I don't judge you if you drink. But it's all it's a good thing if we're reducing the amount of alcohol we're putting in our body. I'm gonna spend too much more time on that, because what I really want to talk about, and hopefully get some input from my amazing coaches that are on this call, is how do we fix our relationship with food? How do we do this while on these medications? If you could drop a 1 in the chat if you feel like you have a pretty, or have had in your life, a pretty bad relationship with food. I actually don't like that word. I've struggled with their relationship with food. 1. Okay. Okay. Decent amount. Food noise was ridiculous. Not anymore. It's these things are not side effect free. For you guys who know that. And I really think the biggest problem is too high of doses. Because even a really small, moderate dose can actually go a long way in quieting the food noise. It's interesting. I have a client who she went on, we'd worked together for a while, and she made the decision to go on it. I fully supported that. We'd hit really a big wall. She was really struggling with her relationship with food, despite the work we were doing. And I said, I support you in this. We had lost a good amount of weight. We'd stalled out. And also she got her blood work back, which I think is important to do. And we encourage all of our clients, and we send them to get blood work if they don't have anywhere to get it. Somebody can, whoever, mute that. It is, and her A1C was really high, fasting glucose. So we made the decision to go on it. What I'm telling you the story is that 2.5 milligrams of tirzepatide did wonders for her food noise at first, right? And then she went up a little bit more, and we kind of settled around 4. She was getting it compounded. And all of a sudden she's like, and she's losing weight great, but she said, Brad, I think I need to go up on my dose. My food noise is crazy. And instead of me just going, yeah, we better just keep going up on the dose, I said, well, have you been doing the work we talked about that I'm going to get into here coming up right now about the relationship with food? And she's like, I've slacked on that a little because, well, the medication just took it away, right? And I was like, well, before you just run to add more, we need to do the real work, because it was working. And I don't believe it just stopped working. I believe you stopped working. And so the assist that medication was giving you was starting to die off a little. Yes, absolutely. Fasting insulin, different than glucose, for sure. Like it was just a minor part of the story as far as like, but yes, looking at lab work, you want to look at insulin, fasting glucose, A1C, among many other things, to kind of get an outlier to see where your blood sugar falls and if these medications would be good for you. Because I've also had people go on it who had almost too low dose, and they felt hypoglycemic a lot on medications. Totally different side note. I don't want to sidetrack too much, but so once we start doing the work, all of a sudden that dose that was working started working again, wouldn't you know? So so for you guys who don't know what food is, it's not just hunger, okay? And it's a newer term. I mean, I'm sure it's been around, but kind of mainstream, right? But it's not just hunger. It is the constant, like, involuntary mental chatter about food. I feel like the term has almost gotten bastardized a little where people will have a few cravings. I get cravings. I'm very well aware that's not food noise. It's two entirely different things. Feeling some cravings for something sweet because you walk by a bakery and it smells delicious is not the same of constant food chatter in your head all the time about food. It's the preoccupation, obsessive planning, guilt cycles, cravings when not hungry. That's food noise, okay? And the difference is it's rooted in dopamine reward pathways, right? So stress responses, emotional power, or emotional patterns, and all of this. It's not willpower. It's not just like grit through it. Those are cravings, and sometimes cravings, yeah, you got to grit through it a little bit, okay? So what GLPs do is they dampen the brain's reward center, okay, and it reduces how food even feels. So they've looked at studies shown the brain activation reward regions when viewing high caloric food images, like it's great, like it doesn't even fire off the same, right? So the key GLP is the quiet signal. They do not, what did somebody say to me one time? They said they do not delete the station. The wiring is still there. It's just muted. Okay. So it doesn't delete the station, right? It's still there. We're just on mute or really, really low volume. Okay. So the problem is, I was trying to read the chat as we go along too. I'm sorry. The false finish line problem is what I like to call it, right? Food noise disappears. Okay. Pattern feels cured. I'm good. I'm cured. Like, I don't even think about food. This is amazing. I'm good. But you do zero psychological work. You do zero internal work. Okay. And, the best way I can describe it is I went on a shot when I was one of my vain attempts to get sober called the Vivitrol shot, which basically blocks your opioid receptors and kind of dampens that craving center for opiates in your brain. I went on it. I didn't do a damn thing in recovery, and I thought, I'm good. I'm great. I got this. I went to the gym, and I was like, I don't need like a recovery program. I did that medication for like 3 months and came off. I don't know, 10 days later, it came back with a vengeance because I wasn't actually doing the work to solve the problem. The Vivitrol shot was dampening that craving center in my brain and was blocking my receptors so I couldn't even get high if I wanted to. That is not the same as actually really treating the problem. Okay. So no new habits are built, right? No emotional patterns are addressed. You're just coasting. Um, so then the medication weakens or you stop and everything just falls apart. Okay. The they looked at kind of like a one within within 1 year of stopping semaglutide. This was a step one extension trial where they looked at patients coming off semaglutide, and I don't remember the exact number. I should have had it pulled up here. I apologize. And patients regained 2/3 of all the weight lost in 1 year's time. Okay. So that's not a really good statistic, right? Like that's not super encouraging. But I believe the difference of the 1/3 who didn't is the work we're just about to talk to in here that we're not willing to do. So, um, oh, was that? Oh, that is yours, Nick. Sorry, I just muted you, Nick. Oh, nope, that is not you. Okay. Um, if your line's not muted, if you could just do that for me, that'd be great. I don't know who it is. Um, so what's the solution here? Okay. Why does hunger come back hard? The science is you have these hunger hormones, right? You have ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. Let me actually just show you this. I don't know. Hold on. Let me find who is not. Oh, there we go. There we go. Let me show you a visual of what we're working with these hunger hormones, okay? So you have ghrelin, it's a primary hunger hormone, okay? It's suppressed significantly if in You know, a funny way one of my clients told me, Joe's members, ghrelin is like the gremlin hormone, right? It is a primary hunger hormone, but it is suppressed while on these medications. It rebounds above baseline, they're finding, when you stop temporarily, okay? So the body overcompensates. Hunger surges beyond where it started, all right? So, but this is generally only temporary. It's not a forever thing. Leptin plays many roles in our body, but one is our satiety signal. So weight loss reduces body fat, which reduces leptin. Brain thinks you're starving. The I'm satisfied signal weakens dramatically, right? And then we have what's called peptide YY, which is responsible for gut fullness signal. So drops after sensation, your I'm full signal gets weaker at the exact moment your hunger is surging. This is what happens. So this is um, this is a hormonal issue, not just willpower. Okay. Um, this is the problem when near complete reversal of weight loss within 52 weeks of stopping is consistent across research. Okay. Tapering slowly is always better than stopping abruptly. And so there we go. So that's one thing from a physiological thing that is going on when we're stopping these medications, okay? Again, I really recommend, if you're going to get off these, working with your doctor to slowly taper. Seems to be significantly easier for the brain and body chemistry to rebound, and for you to have a chance to actually keep this weight off, because the lifestyle portion is a huge part of it, which we work on clients with. That's making sure you're getting enough steps, you're walking, you're not just sitting all day, right? You're getting enough protein, you're strength training, you're doing all the things, you're getting hydration, you're supplementing if needed, you're getting good food quality, and you're hitting your fiber. Like, this is the whole life. You're managing your stress, you're getting enough sleep. There's a whole checklist. That's why coaching is so powerful, because it can feel daunting to do all this shit on your own. Okay. So this is but then the other side of this is the psychological side. And I want to go over real quick. Gosh, 15 minutes. I did not sum this up quick enough. We're going to jump into this because these 5 things are going to be the most important, I believe, for you to achieve. So if you got a pen and paper, write these down, and I'll pump up the screen here in a minute and show you guys when I'm all done. Okay. Number 1, and I'm going to put this number 1. Normally I'd put it number 5 as like my great old sales pitch, but I believe it's one of the most important because it makes the other 4 I'm about to list immensely easier to do. So work with a coach who specializes in this, like, period. And I'm not saying like a therapist can't help you as well, because they absolutely can. I have some great therapists I've referred to, okay? But typically, a therapist helps you unpack your past. A coach who specializes in this helps you navigate your present in real time while you're on the medication. Again, we talk with our clients sometimes daily, multiple times a week throughout the week, checking, touching base, having someone in your corner, okay? Having a weekly check-in on your relationship with food, your triggers, your patterns, your mindset, on top of all the lifestyle things, is, I would even argue, almost a must if you really, really want to be successful with this. Of course, is there outliers that can do this? Absolutely. I've met some of them, but I've also seen too many people diving into their relationship with food and having somebody to help work through that with. So real-time access across the whole entire week. Because that's when the work really happens. It's in those moments on a random Wednesday night at 8 p.m. where you're like, holy shit, I have had the worst day and I am going to eat my face off in the pantry. And you text your coach and you said, dude, help me. And boom, 3 bubbles go off, right? And we're communicating. And we can pause when agitated there and make a better decision, okay? So someone who understands exactly what your body and brain are going through. We have dove into this and really taken a emphasis, I should say, on these GLP medications, because we believe they're here to stay, and we believe for the right person they can be really good, and we also believe for the wrong person. I didn't even really time to go into how to know if you're not the right candidate for these, unfortunately. Maybe I'll have to do a part 3 here. Is super important. I want to be clear about something. Your doctor gave you a prescription, okay? Maybe they gave you a pamphlet. And that was probably the last real conversation about how to actually use these until you go back and see them. And of course, there's some great doctors, but that's not that's really kind of what they're there to do. But I would argue that's not enough and not even close. And that's why we have some doctors that, specifically, we work with a hormone company here locally that they make them go see Tom, our coach right here, for a consultation when getting on the medication, because they understand, like, we're only going to see you every 6 to 12 weeks. You need to talk to somebody about making this a lifestyle change. We don't want to just feed you the medication and keep you on it forever. And we want you to genuinely get the most out of this. So I've really respected that about them. You know, that's not enough. It's not even close. I think what you need is someone checking with you weekly, someone who knows what that week 3 feels like versus like week 10, right? Someone who can look at your patterns and tell you, you know, what's going on, call you on your bullshit in a loving way. Someone you can text on a Tuesday night. Like I said, when you're standing in front of the fridge and you're like, I am going to eat everything, and you don't know why, and you feel like a failure because that food noise seems to be coming back, reminding you that it's just a brief moment, and it's not that the food noise is never going to come back, but someone that can actually help you navigate this whole thing so you can be changing your relationship with food. I'm going to go over the 4 other things that we have found the most powerful that we help our clients implement. And if coaching is not in your repertoire, I highly encourage you to take these next 4 I'm about to read and run with them and implement them. What we provide is an accountability and a system to make sure you're actually doing them. Knowing what to do and doing the damn thing are 2 completely different things. So again, Tom, if you can drop your discovery link, we're only taking 8 spots for this because we're going to give $50 off a month ongoing. You get $50 off a month, coach, grandfathered in, which I've never done. It's typically just for our minimum agreement. $50 off a month for as long or as little as you want to stay past our minimum agreement. And so we're only going to take 8 spots at that. And Tom just texted me, we already have 4 or 5 discovery calls scheduled, which props to you guys. Hell yeah, that is 5. Amazing. Good job. So if you guys, and listen, this is just a conversation. Like, if it's not the right fit for you, it's not the right fit. Totally cool. Taking 8 spots because of the discounted ongoing grandfathered in rate, because we also understand you're spending some money on this medication if you're on one. If you're not on one and you're like, I've been thinking about getting on one, we had 2 or 3 people sign up from the last one that weren't even on one yet. And they were like, I think I need to try coaching first and actually give this a real shot. And then if I can't get the weight off, then go to that, which I thought was really cool. That was not the aim of it. But so again, taking 8 spots, $50 off a month, ongoing. We understand you're spending money on the medication. So, and even if you're not, then you get the $50 anyways because you were here. But it's just a conversation. I'll circle back to that here at the very end. But I want to go over these 4 tips, and I'm going to try to do it in the next 10 minutes. I really apologize. I might go 15. Okay. Number 2 is daily nervous system work. Okay. Chronic stress elevates cortisol. It drives appetite and drives cravings for sugar and highly hyperpalatable processed foods. Breath work and meditation. I'm gonna pull up the slide here, and I didn't do the slide well. It's just all 5 in 1, so I'm gonna pull it up here in a sec. Okay. Breath work and meditation target the same brain circuits as GLPs. Fun fact. So you're reinforcing the effect. Okay. 5 to 10 minutes every morning. That could be box breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, guided meditation. Whatever seems to trick for you. We use heart focused breathing within our clients. It's a heart math technique. We find what works for you, but my friends, you have to do something. You have to start to learn to regulate your nervous system, because part of this food noise is a dysregulated nervous system, which craves this instant dopamine hit and this. We don't want to sit in these feelings, so we immediately want to change that by feeling food, right? That pleasure center that food gives us temporarily. And you got to remember, cortisol, insulin is actually the counter-regulatory factor to cortisol. So what that means is the blunting mechanism for cortisol. So when you are stressed, there is a reason why you don't crave a ribeye steak. Well, maybe some people do. You crave what? Carbs, sugar, tortilla chips, anything that can give you a quick hit of a big insulin spike, because in the very moment, it is going to blunt that effect of cortisol. So not only the dopamine and like the pleasure centers in your brain from eating delicious food, but from a physiological standpoint, you are actually feeling better for a brief by lowering that cortisol, by getting that huge hit of insulin. The problem is, my friends, is it just boomerangs right back up. It just boomerangs, right? It doesn't stay lower. unless you're doing something on the back end to mitigate this. So, um, this is super, super important. Build a skill now while it's easier. I tell clients that are on this, I said, it won't always be this easy. So let's build the skills now to regulate your nervous system. When my clients are on it, I said, this is not like, we absolutely have to be doing this work. If you truly want to change your relationship with food, it starts with changing your nervous system. So period, the end. Number 3 is practice moderation, not elimination. Okay. Going fully off problem foods while on meds feels like a big win, but the medication is doing the work, right? You haven't beaten it, you've just avoided the test. And so by no means am I saying that you should incorporate a ton of it into your diet. But I have had clients say, like, I haven't had a bite of sugar in 2 months. I'm like, that is incredible. But also, what about if we tried to incorporate just having a little bit here and there so you can practice even having this foods in moderation while it's easier, and you can work on chewing your food slowly, taking lots of bites, sitting down and being present with that food. These are all such seemingly small things that have such a big ROI. So I want you to build that muscle, like, so to speak, for when the medication is gone, right? We talking about practice? Practice. Any Allen Iverson reference here? Get that? All right. You know, have one cookie intentionally and sit down and enjoy it and be present with it. And, here and there, not all the time, but I would encourage you to not just simply eliminate all of it, because that's not going to be real life. As much as I want it to be for you guys, it's not going to be. I've yet to see anybody like, that's not true. There's outliers, of course, but very rarely does it work like that. So we try to work with our clients on being like, hey, love that. But also, I know you're thinking, Brad, this is kind of, you're actually like going against what you said, which was don't eat like shit. We're talking about 10% of the time here, and the other 90% from good, nutritious, single ingredient foods. Okay. So I would work on practicing a little bit of moderation, not just complete elimination because you're not having any cravings. Work on that skill set. It is a skill set that you have to learn. Number 4 would be intentional food journaling. Okay. And I'm not talking about calorie tracking. That's one part of it. I'm talking about awareness building. So, like, what did you eat? How did it make you feel? Were you actually hungry before you ate? Did you notice, would I have eaten more before I was on the medication? But, the slow gastric, I got full a lot quicker. What would have been my thought process before that? There's a bunch of cues we'll give clients when it comes to journaling, and it really is individualized to the specific client. So the food noise is so quiet right now. Use that quiet to learn your patterns, okay? What you discover now prepares you for when the food noise comes back. And again, what you discover now might change a little once you get off it, but at least having a conscious effort and mindset towards starting to pay attention to, oh, this is normally a time where I would crave food. I didn't because of the medication, but what would I have done differently had I not? There's a be doing, but really taking a keen awareness on doing this, okay? Number 5, and I'm gonna come back to a couple of these, okay? Number 5 is you have to build a new food identity, and that this is the most important one, and it doesn't happen overnight. Most people see themselves as someone who struggles with food. When on the medication, it's just temporarily suppressed. That identity pulls you right back when the medication is gone. I used to think it was, I have a good friend named Frank Young. He helps me run my Next Level Experience program, and he is a word stickler. We call him the word police, and he is always on. Joe and Tanya know Frank, and he is just on it about words. He is like the word, and I was like, dude, it really doesn't that matter. For example, I'd be like, oh man, I'm such an idiot, I forgot that. And he's like, don't say that. I'm like, bro, it really doesn't matter. Well, a couple years later, after really practicing watching the words I use about myself and the labels I give myself, I can absolutely tell you without assurance that it absolutely matters. And so starting to build and watching the words you say, instead of saying like, oh, I've always struggled with food, that somebody who has had a tendency to, have food noise come up, instead of I am this, right? Switching your whole identity So the work is genuinely start to see yourself as someone who eats well, not someone who's just on a diet or eating less because they're on a medication. My aunt, bless her heart, did nothing to change her identity. In fact, it almost boosted that more. She was so proud that she could eat whatever the hell she wanted and lose weight. She wore it like a badge of honor. She was like, this is amazing. And sadly, obviously, the weight packed on at really, really fast rates once she got off it. And because nothing changed in the identity, let alone did she go for walks, nothing, right? And I've nothing but love for her. But she went about this in a way that was not surprising that, she's just going to be on and off this medication or just go back on it and stay on it forever. And at her age, we don't know if that's healthy or not. We don't know if 68 years old, if that's a good thing or not. We don't know if that's a good thing at 38 years old. We must change the identity portion. So I want you to if I could give you one kind of takeaway is write 3 sentences describing, for lack of a better word, how a healthy version of you eats and read them every morning. This shit might seem kind of like woo-woo. It works. So 3 sentences describing how a healthy version of you eats. Like, what are those empowering statements? And then read them every morning. I don't know if Nick or Chelsea, you've got any kind of thing to add to that or like any kind of examples. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
okay.
a lot. This has all been amazing, and everybody has had such good questions and comments in the chat, and it's been so cool to see how many of you have named that you have said that you've been able to build that kind of positive relationship with food and have been able to kind of shift your identity around it. There was somebody's comment, it's been a while, so forgive me, I don't remember who you are, but there was somebody who said that prior to the medication, they really struggled with their relationship with food. And now they're able to really see food as fuel. And of course, they still have some, indulgences, some fun foods here and there, but that it's no longer as like it doesn't take over their life and take over their, just it doesn't take them over the way that it used to. And I think that is such a testament to someone who has done this the right way and has really used the medication as a tool to help them regain a little bit of control, be able to feel better satiety, feel a little bit more full, not feel so overrun with cravings and with hunger, but has really practiced, just like you said, Brad, what does a healthy relationship with food look like and feel like? Because yes, that is so, so important. I get to work with these medications and with patients who are on them clinically, and unfortunately I see way more often than I would like to patients who come into my office who have been on medications from prescribing providers elsewhere or from doctors who just kind of said, like, here, take this shot, increase your dose every 4 weeks, try to eat better, get some exercise, but no real guidance or structure at how to optimize their health and how to improve their relationship with food. And just like you said, Brad, that is such a big piece of the puzzle. So yes, I second all of this. I agree to all of this. And for those of you who are on a GLP medication, I want you to be really proud of yourself for the fact that you're here because this says that you are looking to do things the right way and that you're gathering information, you're gathering education, and you're really trying to do this the right way where unfortunately there's not a lot of people who are because they're so accessible. And I said it in the chat just because it popped up in my mind, but we live in a day where you can buy skinny, but you can't buy optimal health
Mm,
and you can't buy muscle and you can't buy a healthy relationship with food, but you can buy skinny. And so I just think that being skinny, it's not quite the flex. It's not quite the trophy that it used to be.
yes. We're up to strong, not skinny. I
Yeah.
love that you said that. And, it's really cool. Chelsea works in a clinic and then obviously works as a coach with Next Level Coaching. And so her expertise on that from seeing both sides and seeing we don't see a ton of people doing it completely wrong because they're working with us. And so we're making sure they're not. Chelsea has the honor of seeing a lot of people that you're like, dude, like, you got to make some lifestyle changes. We don't just want to be skinny. We want to be strong. We want to be empowered. Right. And also I want to throw this into maybe there's some of you guys that have kind of thought about getting on one. And what I want to encourage you to is, you know, some people feel great on these medications. and very low side effects, and they really help them. And if done correctly, they can be this tool, and we take the tool, we get the results we're after, and then we can taper off the tool. And it's this I've had numerous clients now go on them and get off them and either continue to lose, or at least they're at their weight loss goal now, and we maintained, and super low doses sometimes. It's been amazing. But also, like, ask yourself, have I really, really, like, have I gave this kind of everything? Because for some people too, they absolutely don't feel great on these medications. Even on a low dose, I've had some people that have been like, ugh, I just don't feel great. Make sure you're doing the other work too, to really, really, if you just got 5, 10 pounds to lose, and you just kind of feel like that would be an easier thing to do, I really want to encourage you to get honest and, like, have you really, really done the work to lose that 10 pounds on your own, But again, if you're somebody who has always struggled with food noise, and if you're like, I don't know if I have food noise, I'm just going to say this bluntly, you probably don't. Like, if you don't know if you have it, you don't. Like, it is a different beast. And so when these medications first came out, I remember, I'll admit, I got really insecure. I was like, well, shoot, these are going to take our jobs. And Ozempic was a little more side effect prone for sure than the latest two. But then I started, and I was really against him at first. And also doctors were mega dosing people, and it was terrible, right? But then I started seeing some clients, I mean, for the first time in their life, feel like they had freedom, and years my perception has changed, and now, I'm if it makes, I am all on board for someone doing that. And I don't want you to feel any shame about this. There's a bunch of other things as far as building the relationship with food, but we're out of time. Those were the main 5 key points, but mostly is working with, a close eye on this to notice your patterns, and again, to be doing the other work. I mean, this is everything from, we give our clients, remember, we kind of think about a 4-legged chair of fitness, right? Clients come to us for this physical leg, and this is what I built the company on. And I don't talk about it as much anymore. And I realized, like, they come to us for this physical leg, right? But if we don't have the emotional, some habits going in the emotional, mental, and spiritual, those other 3 legs of the chair, we're just sitting on a chair that's really unbalanced, right? And eventually that shit is going to fall over. And so how do we balance all of them? Well, we put strategic little habits that are often done daily or multiple times a week inside a client's programming to make sure that we're hitting each leg of the chair. And if done consistently over a long period of time, you can absolutely change your relationship with food. And am I sitting up here telling you that it's not, so for some of you guys, it's always going to be a little bit of a struggle? Welcome to the crew. Addiction's always going to be a little bit of a struggle for me, and I always have to be really careful. And that's just the way it is. And I've accepted that. And I've embraced it because it gives me a chance to do the other work to be a better man. Okay, let me finish with this. I'll get you guys out of here, okay? What was I going to say? Oh, the medication is, for a lot of people, is borrowed time. It's not a solution. It's a window. And I encourage you, and again, there's exceptions. Oh, sorry. Somebody's been waiting to get in. There's exceptions. There's some people that, but for the most of you guys, it should just be a window and a tool. The people who never look back used the window, I believe. They built the habits, they did the mental work, and they came off with a plan. And everything. And the research sadly says that's more people than not, which sucks. They coasted on this. They didn't use it as a window and an opportunity. They used it as kind of a crutch, right? So, we're only working with a small number of people one-on-one because we go deep on all of it, right? Nutrition training, the psychology, the tapering. We know these medications well, and we want to help you through that process. So I'm just going to leave you with this. The research is clear. It is unfortunately clear, more clear than we want it to be, that most people that go on these medications and stop have a better chance than not of ending back up where they started within a year. Whether you work with us to empower you guys and try to pump you up to, if you're on one right now, to not be that person, like be the other side of the statistic. I sat in a rehab where they had all of us stand up. They had like 27 of us stand up, and they said, okay, all but 3 of you sit down. That's how many, that's how many of you guys are actually going to make it. Like 3 out of 27. And while I thought it was a dick move because it wasn't very encouraging for a guy who was like 26 days sober and can't like form a sentence in rehab, I'm like, he wasn't wrong. That's been my experience. And somewhere along the way, I decided that I was going to be one of those three. And 13 and a half years later, I am one of those three. And it was a decision. And it was a decision to do anything I had to do at all costs. And I want to empower you to do the same. Regardless if you coach with us or not, I want to encourage you to do that, okay? So the food noise is going to come back. And how much it comes back, I believe, is how much work you're willing to do when on this. So, and sometimes worse than before. So, guys, the difference of the people who beat this statistic and the people who become the statistic almost always comes down to one thing, I believe. And I'm just one man's opinion here. Whether you or not you did the work during the window, and the work is not just, it's all of the lifestyle modifications, all of that what we talked about in part one, but it's also the psychological work, okay? That's it. The medication gave you this quiet. It gave you the break from the food noise, so to speak. It gave you a chance to eat less food so you could finally lose some weight and get some weight off and feel some momentum and feel like you're liking what you're seeing in the mirror and feel like you have the confidence to go to the gym because you're not embarrassed anymore, and you work out and buy some cute new workout clothes, and like, this shit's awesome if used correctly, right? It gave you this, right? It gave you this, but what did you do with it? What are you doing with it, I guess, is a better way to ask that question. That's the question I want to ask you. And if the honest answer is, well, Brad, probably not enough, that's okay. I believe that's why you're here. Well, it's not okay. It's okay because you're here, but like, it's time to do something different. But I need you to hear me right now. The window does not stay open forever, guys. Like, I it's this enough. Your body is already adapting. The longer you wait to build the foundation, the harder the landing when the medication is gone, I believe. It's like, so again, we work with, we work with people one-on-one, and we don't take just anybody and everybody, and not because we can't take more, but because we refuse to give anything less than our full attention to our clients. And we do high level coaching. We meet with you over Zoom. It's not just a simple online check-in, and that takes time. We meet with clients over Zoom and we dive into everything. So, regardless, again, Tom's link is pinned. If you want to hop on a call with us, we would love to chat with you, see if you're the right fit. 8 spots we're doing for this. That's not some bullshit sales pitch. It's honestly because I believe that we are not discount coaches. I hate giving a discount, but I hate even that word, giving a deal. But we're giving the deal because we also understand that you're probably very likely you're investing money into using the medication. So we want to help you out there. But regardless, like, we'll hop on a call, no pressure, no high pressure. You're going to talk to Tom. He's like the most chill human alive. No pitch, just a real conversation of where you're at and whether or not this is the right fit for you. But regardless, I want to impress upon you, no matter what you decide to do when you hang up this call, the window is open. Don't waste it, my friends. Like, don't waste this window of opportunity you have to really dial in your habits, from lifestyle to your mindset to all of it. You have an opportunity to change the trajectory of your health journey right now. Make the most out of this medication. Make the most out of this time on this. Be cognizant of not going too high of a dose. Do the work, and if you do the work adequately, you'll find that you don't need as high of a dose because you're doing the damn thing. Every one of you guys is rock stars, and I just want to empower you one more time. You don't even have any shame about being on these medications. I've always been very honest that I have taken extracurricular performance-enhancing drugs in my day and steroids, and not that I'm proud of that, but I also believe that I don't ever think we should walk around feeling shameful or lie, especially with a GLP medication, that steroids are not. I could argue that this medication for the right person on this call is actually a really good thing for you. I could also argue that for some of you guys, it's probably not the greatest thing. But for some of you guys, this is literally a life-saving thing that is giving you a chance to get your health back. You don't need to feel ashamed about that. A lot of people take this medication and don't lose weight. I've seen it a ton. So if you are, there's a good chance you're doing the work. And I want to commend you for that. And thank you all for showing up. You guys rock. I went a little over. can tell because I lost like 30 people off the Zoom. So for the 40 of the 70 that were on here that stayed, you guys rock. I went over. I didn't mean to. And again, props to all you guys that showed up tonight. We, about, I don't know, 300 people showed up, and I think we had like 70 or 80 on at the peak. And that's pretty typical, but good job. And for you guys watching this on recording and you couldn't make it, awesome too. But thank you guys for showing up. These would be lame without you guys here. Thank you for being so active in the chat. If I can help you guys at all, let me know. What we're going to do is we're going to send out an email tomorrow morning. You're going to get the recording to this if you want to. And a couple other little tidbits. I'm going to leave I'm going to include a few notes for you guys to review. And then we'll include part 1 to the masterclass if you want to go back and watch that. So you're amazing. Much love, y'all. Any questions I can answer before we jet? Okay. Go kick some ass. You guys are rock stars. We love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great night.